Raise your right hand. You swear or affirm the evidence you're about to present in the matter under hearing should be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Your Honor, are you judging me? And no law is above God's law, so I cannot honor any of your laws.
An odd situation arose in a small courtroom in Georgia. A police officer confidently, thinking this was going to be another easy trial. What this officer did not realize was that the woman sitting quietly on the other side of the screen was not there to sorry, she was there to fight back. From the moment we started the hearing, you could feel the tide had changed. The officer was his report, he had pressed his uniform, and his tone was this time, that wasn't going to cut it. Today, we're breaking down the courtroom confrontation that had the judge shocked and the police officer scrambling for an explanation, an audience wondering if this was about safety or just a ticket. Before we get into it, remember to give this video a like, subscribe, and to hold on tight because you're going to love the story that unfolds in a way you just will not believe. The judge formally opens the hearing as usual. The officer is sworn. He starts right away enlisting his qualifications. He discusses his training, rank and years in traffic enforcement. He explains that on the day in question, he was patrolling, watching traffic in his rearview mirror when he sees a white Chevrolet. He claims that the changing lanes a lot, failing to signal and following another vehicle too closely. Thus, he felt she was.
Raise your right hand. You swear or affirm the evidence you're about to present in the matter under hearing should be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
And decided to enact a stop. His expression is one of self-confidence. Every sentence sounds rehearsed, assured, equable. But, as every good storyteller knows, confidence without clarity is never long-lasting.
Your Honor, are you judging me? Any type of documentation from the Attorney General, from the Secretary of State, you guys have not had permission to try me, and no law is above God's law.
Had the hearing stopped there, he may have walked out unscathed. But what happens next changes everything. As Sydney Steele starts her own questioning, she neither rushes nor yells. She just quietly asks one question that opens up the whole story. So, if you could see me in your rearview mirror, how were you able to see how closely I was driving behind another car? The officer blinks and then says, I can see your car and then the other car. Sydney leans slightly forward. How far from the other car? He guesses. Less than a car length. But were you able to see my tires? She asks. He admits not to being able to. He could only see her bumper. If this were a movie, the music would be changing here. Because in a few lines, Sydney has turned it around. The officer's confident description suddenly sounds vague.
56. I am friends with the IRS. I have attempted to settle with a $20 money order because there is no money with the court, and everything was sent back.
He insists he saw her tailgating, but he was ahead of her looking in a mirror. The contradiction is now visible, and the judge is watching closely. The prosecutor tries to rebuild the officer's testimony, but it begins to unravel. The officer, what we have here is not good versus evil, it is belief versus law. She believes that citing scripture has the same effect as citing a statute. But the courtroom has its own language, and it does not acknowledge a person's own theology as a source of authority. So while she argues with faith, the system waits for something based in fact in response. The judge maintains his demeanor soft, even careful. He allows her to speak, perhaps knowing for himself that interrupting would matter little in the grand scheme. The further she gets from a coherent narrative, actually, the clearer the line between sane and madness becomes. Regardless, he listens not out of agreement, but out of obligation. Because every courtroom relies on clarity, even when the air is thick with confusion. And now our story is stuck at this strange intersection with a woman standing defiantly in faith, confronted with a law she refuses to grasp. But if belief could act against justice, what kind of world would that be? In a moment or two, we will learn how far someone can go out of conviction before they encounter consequence. The atmosphere in the courtroom becomes denser as Miss Lott concludes her long statement. While she speaks firmly, towards the end she softens into a declarative statement, I am a natural person. That is my statement. There is a pause, just for a second. You can hear nothing in the courtroom. It seems that even the judge pauses for the sound of Miss Lott's statement to somewhat dissipate before proceeding.
And I am not a 14th Amendment corporate war citizen. I am a natural person. That is what I have to say.
You have any questions for Ms. Lott or Ms. St. Fleur?
Miss St. Fleur, the attorney, clears her throat, obviously trying to regain the order of the moment. Miss St. Fleur asks, Miss Lott, were you present in the court for the petition of legitimation with Tariq Crump? However, she is interrupted again by Miss Lott. It's St. Fleur, she says curtly. If you are going to quote articles, you should get my name right.
Miss LaFleur, can you provide me your...
It's St. Fleur. It's St. Fleur. It's not LaFleur. If we're gonna quote all of these articles, make sure you get my name right. It's St. Fleur.
St. Fleur?
It's St. Fleur. Well, just were you in court? I mean, I'm not sure if any of the articles could tell me, but were you in court?
Questions. I have no further answers for any of your questions. I said what I said. This law does not trump God's law. I'm under God's law, and that's it.
The tension easily flickers again, this time with a touch of annoyance. The attorney pushes yet again. Miss Lott interrupts again, I have no more responses to any of your questions. I said what I said. The law of God supersedes yours. At this point, the courtroom transforms into an odd theater rather than a legal process. Every rule, every word, and every question is answered with the Bible and arrogance. She communicates ambiguously and alludes to non-existent laws from nowhere as if she has been drawing her rights from the Facebook forums. The judge lets her talk, tranquil and unexpressive, maybe even thinking that rationality is not required here anymore. Indeed, sometimes, it is not the gavel that the court requires, but endurance. Miss Lott brandishes a piece of paper as if it were a banner. Here is my evidence, she proclaims. A court-directed $20 money order. Payment by rejection is payment. The audience becomes agitated.
I have the proof here, and this was sent back to me. This is the money order that I sent to the court.
That's
Your
that
law-
$20 thing you said?
Yes, it is. That is the settlement that is written in your laws. I did send the thing. They sent it back, and refusal of payment is payment, so I will handle it with the IRS from here.
The judge looks down with no sign of being impressed. And, he states in a neutral voice, $20 does not correspond to $2,755.40. Her comeback comes right away. No court fees can overshadow the law of God. I have given what is due from me as a human being. The reasoning unravels, yet she quotes commandments instead of code standing unyielding. At last, the judge exhales. Miss Lott, I find you guilty of contempt of court because you did not pay your dues. The ruling is cool but unalterable, imprisonment until the dues are paid.
All right, Ms. Lott, I'm gonna find you in contempt of court for failure to pay the $2,755.40. Order you incarcerated, that is jailed, until you've paid the money.
Still, before he can completely pronounce the sentence, she interjects. I will dispute it with the IRS, she asserts. The sheriff cannot act. The judge gives a very slight glance up.
I will be taking it up with the IRS, and I will be filing liens because you guys do not have liens over myself, my estate, or my child. So
You'll take it up with the sheriff first.
no, I will not, because the sheriff does not have any jurisdiction.
In that case, you'll deal with the sheriff first. The spectators in the courtroom are tense, and the judge's world of spiritual law has just run into the wall of absolute power, and no retreat option is allowed to faith here. The judge proceeds, adding more $1,500 for the lawyer's fees. Miss St. Fleur bows in a manner that indicates her good opinion. The ruling is unambiguous. However, Miss Lott, with a poker face, requests the confirmation of this being an Article 3 court. We'll send you the order, replies the judge in a tone that suggests he is not joking. Miss Lott's rejoinder, a last dare, becomes inaudible due to the noise of paper moving. Reality has really started to encroach. It is almost unbelievable from the gallery, a woman whose treatment of the judicial process is similar to that of an unwanted email that she can just ignore. She reasons like a denial is a defense, but the situation is clearer, acting as if the law does not apply does not make it go away. The judge, cool and composed, neither scolds her nor shouts. He does not have to. It is her own words that have already determined the result. Because once reason goes out the door, the inevitable consequence very quietly comes in. While the deputies are getting ready to take her out, the teaching is still very much alive. Law is not faith. It is a structure that can endure the test of belief. However, every so often, a person enters a courtroom intending to change the system with a vow rather than through compliance. But no matter how vigorous, faith cannot turn contempt into acquittal. Ultimately, the courtroom did not only announce its decision but also showed a truth. Reasonless conviction may appear strong, but it always succumbs to the law in the end. If you considered this case to be as incredible as it was interesting, don't forget to give a thumbs up to the video, become a subscriber to watch more authentic courtroom moments, activate the bell so that you are always updated on them, and express your views in the comments since every viewpoint contributes another voice to the discussion.